Ouais. Fait qu'il la, quoi, il la réforme ou... Parfait. Et ça, on sait-tu à partir de quand les premiers vont le dire? Pas te laisser?
Hours reduced or worried about your industry, these might be really stressful decisions. Far too many Canadians are having these tough conversations about finances and their future. Just look at the numbers. Last week, almost 1 million people applied for employment insurance. The hard truth is that people are out of work because of this crisis and worried about what comes next. So I want you to know that we'll be there to help you. Our government is doing everything we can to be there for you. Tôt ce matin, la Chambre des communes a adopté un projet de loi d'urgence pour aider les gens le plus rapidement possible. Le projet de loi est maintenant devant le Sénat. J'espère que son adoption va se faire rapidement pour qu'on puisse aider les Canadiens dès que possible. On aura plus de détails pour vous cette semaine et d'autres mesures à annoncer. Et ce n'est qu'un début. Mais cette nouvelle loi nous permet de prendre les mesures nécessaires pour vous appuyer tout de suite. On va notamment bonifier l'allocation canadienne pour enfants et reporter de 6 mois la date de remboursement des prêts et bourses étudiants. Et surtout, avec cette loi, on introduit la nouvelle prestation canadienne d'urgence. Cette allocation remplacera les 2 allocations qu'on a annoncées la semaine dernière, soit l'allocation de soins d'urgence et l'allocation de soutien d'urgence, pour simplifier le processus. Comme je l'ai dit depuis le début, à mesure que la situation évolue, on s'ajuste pour mieux vous aider. La prestation canadienne d'urgence donne 2 000 $ tous les mois pour les prochains 4 mois aux travailleurs qui sont privés de leur chèque de paie à cause de la COVID-19. Donc, si vous avez perdu votre emploi, que vous travaillez à temps plein ou à contrat, ou que vous soyez travailleur autonome, cette prestation est là pour vous. Si vous êtes malade ou en quarantaine, ou si vous prenez soin de quelqu'un qui a la COVID-19, cette prestation est là pour vous. Si vous devez rester à la maison sans toucher de salaire pour prendre soin de vos enfants ou de vos aînés, cette prestation est là pour vous. Et même si vous avez encore un emploi, mais que vous ne recevez pas de rémunération à cause de cette crise, la nouvelle prestation canadienne d'urgence est là pour vous. Un portail en ligne pour soumettre les demandes sera lancé le plus rapidement possible. Et les gens commenceront à recevoir de l'argent dans les 10 jours après avoir présenté leur demande. The Canada Emergency Response Benefit will provide $2,000 a month for the next 4 months for workers who lose their income as a result of COVID-19. This will replace the 2 benefits we announced last week, the Emergency Care Benefit and the Emergency Support Benefit, in order to streamline the process. Like I said from the start, we will adapt our approach wherever needed. If you've lost your job because of COVID-19, whether you're full-time, contract, or self-employed, this new benefit will be there for you. If you're sick or quarantined, looking after someone sick, or at home taking care of your kids, it's there for you. And even if you're still employed but not receiving income because of this crisis, the CERB is there for you. An application portal will launch as quickly as possible, and people should start receiving money within 10 days of applying. I know people are concerned about delays. Families are worried about when they'll get help. It can be hard to get through on the line, and that is frustrating. Public servants are working around the clock while dealing with unprecedented demand and all of the same personal stress everyone else is facing. They will get to your application. Help is on the way. In order to speed things up, we're rapidly deploying workers from different departments to deal with claims. In the last 10 days, we've boosted the team by close to 13,000 people to take your calls, process your claims, and get you the support you need. And since last Monday, we've already processed 143,000 employment insurance claims. That means more money will go directly to people right across the country. We're working to get you the support you need when you need it. And if you're doing okay, there's a way you can help someone else, as an employer, a landlord, or even just a friend, so you can be part of the solution. It can make all the difference, because it's by working together that we'll get through this. And our team knows that. We're collaborating with the provinces and territories, as well as with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis Nation communities to coordinate our efforts and ensure that everyone is supported. Earlier this week, with the premiers, we also discussed testing for COVID-19. We know that how long you wait for your results varies widely. The premiers and I know we need to address that, and we are. This is something Mr. Haidu and I discuss with officials every day, and we'll continue doing what's needed to speed up results for everyone. But I also want to recognize the incredible work medical professionals are doing on this front. According to Dr. Tam, we're now testing about 10,000 people a day. That's a huge increase in numbers in a very short period of time. And it's because people across the country are working tirelessly to make it happen. At the same time, we're helping companies, labs, and scientific institutions produce and supply what we need most, from masks and ventilators to vaccines and antiviral drugs. We're collaborating with airlines to get Canadians home from abroad and instructing everyone that they must isolate at home for 14 days. We're also working with our international partners on this crisis. This morning, I had calls with President Sall of Senegal and President Kagame of Rwanda to share strategies on keeping people safe and addressing the economic impacts of Senegal and President Kagame remercier tous les journalistes et nos médias canadiens qui gardent les Canadiens au courant des derniers développements avec des faits et des informations fiables. On apprécie énormément votre travail. Right now, it's more important than ever that Canadians have access to the latest news and information. To ensure that journalists can continue to do this vital work, our government is announcing new measures to support them. Le ministre Guilbeault donnera plus de détails tantôt, mais en attendant, je tiens à remercier tous les journalistes et nos médias canadiens qui gardent les Canadiens au courant des derniers développements. Above all, the most important way we can work together is by staying apart. Social distancing is our best tool to stop people from getting sick. I know people are seeing different graphs about how effective social distancing can be and new maps tracking the spread of this virus. Every time you turn on the TV or go online, you probably read something new. I know I do. And you'll want to know what's coming next. Today, I'll be getting the latest modeling from the Public Health Agency of Canada, and we'll discuss how to share this information even more directly with all of you. But you deserve the best information we've got about what's happening today and what tomorrow might bring. Because otherwise, the uncertainty can be really tough, not just for your routine, but for your mental health, too. We're facing a once-in-a-generation challenge, and on top of that, you can't do many of the things that keep you feeling good, getting together with friends or having dinner with your neighbor. If you need help, reach out to your neighbor, to a sibling, to a friend, to a hotline. But do it from home. Don't go out unless you absolutely have to. If you're already following these rules, thank you for doing your part. If you aren't, know that you're making a dangerous choice, because ignoring these rules puts every single one of us, yourself included, at risk. Voici la réalité. Si les gens refusent de suivre les recommandations, nos médecins et nos infirmières ont plus de chances de contracter la COVID-19. Et si nos professionnels de la santé tombent malades, ils ne peuvent pas aller travailler. Et donc, ils ne peuvent pas vous soigner si vous tombez malade. Notre pays fait face à la plus grande crise de santé publique de son histoire. Nous ne pouvons pas mettre à risque les gens qui nous gardent en santé. Et ceux qui s'obstinent à voir leurs amis ou à recevoir des gens à souper mettent tout le monde en danger. Les épiciers, les techniciens d'électricité, les chauffeurs d'autobus, les agriculteurs, les éboueurs méritent mieux que ça. On doit les protéger. C'est pas compliqué ce qu'on vous demande. Restez chez vous. Si vous devez absolument sortir, gardez une distance de 2 mètres les uns des autres. Et si vous revenez d'un séjour à l'étranger, rentrez directement chez vous et restez là pendant au moins 14 jours. Ça s'applique à tout le monde. Pour passer à travers, on doit tous veiller les uns sur les autres et on doit tous faire notre part. Je sais qu'on peut y arriver. Je sais que les Canadiens sont à la hauteur de la situation. Merci.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau, Louis Blouin de Radio-Canada. Je vous demanderais plus de clarté sur les échéanciers, si possible. Le 6 avril, c'est ce que M. Morneau dit, le déploiement de cette nouvelle prestation va entrer en vigueur. Pouvez-vous être précis? Qu'est-ce qui va arriver le 6 avril? Si on va mettre une plateforme en ligne, il arrive quoi là? Et selon ce scénario-là, ça veut dire qu'il y a des gens qui ne recevraient pas d'aide avant la mi-avril presque. Qu'est-ce que vous diriez aux gens qui ont besoin d'aide là, maintenant?
D'abord, on est en train de travailler dans une situation sans précédent. On reconnaît la pression de devoir aider les gens le plus rapidement possible, mais on reconnaît aussi que c'est énormément de gens qu'il faut aider dans un très court délai et on a besoin de développer des systèmes rapides mais fiables pour pouvoir le faire. C'est ce sur quoi le gouvernement au complet est en train de travailler et effectivement, on espère pouvoir avoir ce système en place pour le 6 avril avec l'argent qui arriverait dans les jours qui suivraient. On espère que ce serait très rapide. On espère pouvoir prendre des enregistrements même bien avant le 6 avril, mais c'est ce sur quoi on est en train de travailler. Par rapport aux gens qui ont besoin d'aide, on reconnaît qu'il y a des gens qui font face à des difficultés maintenant, que des gens qui ont arrêté de travailler il y a presque 2 semaines vont avoir des chèques de paye qui devraient rentrer, qui ne vont pas rentrer. Alors, on va faire tout ce qu'on peut pour les aider avec de l'accès au crédit, avec d'autres mesures nécessaires. On est en train d'écouter, d'être là les uns pour les autres, mais il va falloir qu'on travaille très fort, tout le monde, pour passer à travers. We recognize that this is an unprecedented situation with an overwhelming amount of demand by Canadians to get money as quickly as possible. We need to make sure we're getting that money out quickly, but also reliably to Canadians, and that means doing things that government hasn't done before and scaling up our processes extremely quickly. We need to do that in a way that is going to be both reliable and quick, and that's why we're pulling together people from across 2 weeks ago that are now receiving their last paycheck and not knowing when the next money is kind of coming in. We recognize that. We're looking for ways to help people bridge through credit or other measures their ability to make it to the arrival of the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. But we will continue to work diligently and rapidly to make sure we're helping every Canadian we can.
Prime Minister Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail. 60 business groups are calling on Canada to launch a wage subsidy that's in line with the UK and Denmark. So 70 to 80%, they say it would be much more efficient than the slow process that you're rolling out right now. You've been asked about this for several days now. Your question keeps being, things are still on the table, but people are laying off workers now. Now you seem to be saying that struggling businesses could choose to simply not pay their employees rather than laying them off, and the workers could then receive payments under this new benefit. Is that what you're urging struggling businesses to do, and why not go with the higher wage subsidy?
We are absolutely looking at more direct help for businesses. We recognize that in an ideal situation, businesses wouldn't have to lay off people, and people wouldn't have to feel like they've lost their job and don't have a job to come back to after this crisis. So we are working with business groups. We are working with small businesses, hearing their concerns, looking very carefully at the models put forward in other parts of the world à cause de cette crise, que les employeurs ne devraient pas laisser aller des gens, et c'est quelque chose qu'on est en train d'essayer de résoudre avec eux. On reconnaît qu'il y a des modèles qui fonctionnent en Allemagne, au Danemark. On a aidé plus directement par ces mesures de la prestation canadienne d'urgence, mais on sait qu'on peut aussi, et on va aussi faire des choses directement pour les petites entreprises, et on aura plus à dire dans les jours à venir.
Hi, Prime Minister. It's Annie Bergeron-Oliver with CTV National News. I know you just talked about more direct support for businesses, but can you be more specific in the meantime? You said it will come out later this week. There are many businesses that have already laid off people. There are people at home who cannot afford to pay their rent, and those checks are due very soon. What specific aid is available right now for people who are sitting at home who cannot afford any of their bills?
Well, for businesses, we moved very quickly to make credit available for them, to help them bridge through this time, to help them get the liquidity they need at a time of crisis and significant slowdown in the economy. For people at home, we recognize that loosening up rules around credit is also a possibility. We've taken certain measures on that. We know people are anxious. We know that their final paychecks from 2 weeks ago, from last week, are starting to come in now, and they don't know where the next one is going to come in or when the next one is come in. That's why the Canada Emergency Response Benefit is going to flow as a way of giving them $2,000 every month for the next 4 months so that we can get through this together.
Bonjour, Raymond Filion de TVA. Monsieur le Premier ministre, vous en êtes maintenant à votre 14e journée d'isolement. Est-ce que c'est donc dire que vous en serez libéré dès demain? Et est-ce que votre conjointe a toujours des symptômes?
Merci pour la question. Sophie se sent énormément mieux et les enfants et moi n'ont toujours pas de symptômes. Nous allons et nous continuons de suivre toutes les recommandations des experts en santé.
Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire?
Ça veut dire qu'à chaque jour, on continue de suivre les recommandations et si la situation change, on va vous laisser savoir.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Janet Silver, Global News. With more than 1 million Canadians returning from overseas, especially in hotspots like Europe and New York City, why are we relying on the honor system and not using the Quarantine Act to isolate them, given we know that some people have boarded flights with symptoms just so desperate to get home?
It is extremely important that everyone returning to Canada isolate themselves for 14 days. This is a measure that will both keep them safe and prevent further spread of coronavirus through Canada. This is something that we require of every single Canadian coming to this country. It is required for people to stay at home for 14 days.
But it's not mandatory.
Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News. Prime Minister, we've learned that sick Canadian travelers are masking COVID-19 symptoms to get through airport screening. Why does Canada not test temperatures, screen air passengers for fever, or use thermal screening at airports? Should there be thermal screening and consequences for those who mask their symptoms?
We recognize that there are many concerns about passengers returning to Canada, which is why we're asking people to immediately isolate as soon as they get home. It is a requirement. We also know that there are different countries using various technologies, and we will continue to look at what is the best way to keep Canadians safe. There have been a lot of discussion around thermal screening and taking temperatures and spot checks. One of the lessons learned from SARS is that it is simply not as effective as the way people would like it to be, and it can sometimes give a false sense of assurance. This is what the best medical advice and best science advice we are getting is, but we are always open to hearing stronger or different science that says, or different recommendations that say it's worth, but we will make sure that what we choose to do, how we choose to deploy our resources are in the right way to actually help Canadians and actually arrest the spread of this virus.
But Prime Minister, should there be testing, and should passengers who are returning to Canada, should there be consequences for those who mask their symptoms, and should these passengers also be forced to sign a document to make sure they self-isolate? How can you ensure that?
We know that people need to isolate when they land Canada. They agree to an attestation in their processing when they arrive that they will self-isolate for 14 days. That is an important thing. And Canadians with symptoms will not be allowed to board flights coming home. That is a difficult measure, I know, for many people, for many families, but we need to make sure we're doing everything we can to keep Canadians safe.
But some passengers are masking their symptoms. What are the consequences for that?
Okay. We will continue to do what is necessary and have been explaining to people what it is they need to do in order to keep themselves safe and keep Canadians safe.
On va maintenant passer aux journalistes sur la ligne. Modératrice, c'est à vous.
Merci. Thank you. If you have a question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. Si vous avez une question, s'il vous plaît, appuyez sur étoile 1 maintenant. The first question is from Lavon Savance from Radio-Canada International. Please go ahead. Votre ligne est ouverte.
Yes, hello, Prime Minister. Canada's setting aside equipment to send to countries that are very hard hit and cannot buy this equipment on the market.
In our $1 billion COVID-19 response announced last week, we had already set aside money for international efforts. We, of course, will work with the UN, continue to work with international partners on financial support to ensure that we can respond to this global pandemic with global resources. Canada will be there to participate. And I can also highlight on your second question that we are ramping up production of necessary equipment, of emergency medical equipment, of medication. We know that there is a potential need for much more in Canada, but there is certainly a need for much more around the world. And Canada will be part of the solution, not just to make sure that Canada has all the equipment and supplies needed for our citizens, so should the situation get worse, but we will have, hopefully, equipment and supplies to share with the vulnerable parts of the world that will desperately need help.
Merci. Prochaine question.
Thank you. Merci. The next question is from François Carabin, Journal Métro. Please go ahead. Your line is now open. La parole est à vous.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. François Carabin, Journal Métro à Montréal. Bon, on a mentionné hier au gouvernement du Québec qu'on aurait encore quelques semaines là, avec, par exemple, des masques, des écouvillons, donc du matériel médical pour soigner les gens atteints de la COVID-19. Par contre, sur le terrain, l'écho est un peu différent. Il y a des infirmières qui craignent de ne pas avoir assez de matériel médical. Je me demandais ce que vous pourriez garantir aux provinces en termes de, afin de fournir le matériel médical nécessaire pour soigner tous les patients.
Merci pour la question. C'est quelque chose dont on a discuté assez longuement sur mon appel avec tous les premiers ministres. On reconnaît que les besoins sont différents à différents moments à travers le pays. Nous allons faire ce qui est nécessaire pour pouvoir s'assurer que chaque endroit ait l'équipement nécessaire pour répondre aux besoins à l'instant auxquels ils font face. On a des produits, de l'équipement à travers le pays qu'on peut essayer de partager, mais il va falloir qu'on continue à faire les efforts qu'on est en train de faire pour augmenter le nombre, le montant d'équipements et de produits essentiels que nous avons. Et c'est exactement ce qu'on est en train de faire. Mais plus de coordination entre les provinces, entre les différentes juridictions, va s'assurer qu'on puisse répondre aux besoins des Canadiens où qu'ils soient dans le pays.
Merci beaucoup. Dernière question.
Thank you. Merci. The next question is from Justin Ling from Freelance. Please go ahead. Your line is now open. Votre ligne est ouverte.
Hi there, Prime Minister. Last week I asked you about the possibility of reducing the prison population to help combat a potential spread of COVID-19. Since then, I've heard from prisoners, inmates, and guards who have said that prisons are not ready, that their release is not being contemplated, that there's not enough soap, that sanitary conditions are even worse, and that guards are being allowed into the prisons even after returning from abroad. What, if anything, are you going to do to continue reducing the risk in Canada's federal institutions, and is releasing inmates, nonviolent offenders, on the table?
We recognize that the incarcerated population is at greater risk of contracting and spreading COVID-19. That is why we are working closely with Corrections Canada to ensure that we're looking at a broad range of measures to keep both those who work in our correctional facilities, but also those who are residents there, to make sure that we're doing things that will keep them safe. I have said multiple times we're not taking anything off the table in terms of options in order to keep Canadians safe, and we will continue our discussions with Corrections Canada to look at options and to look at ways that we're going to keep people safe right across the country, wherever they be.
Je vous remercie beaucoup.